red shoes. We had a retreat, a Divine Sister retreat a few years ago, and it was based on Dorothy and Over the Rainbow, and everybody wore red shoes to the retreat. It was so cute and so fun, and it was a good theme. Makes me think of that, good memories. So here we are with another power, the power of understanding. Boy, was I hope that my voice doesn't bother you all too much. So I checked it. I checked my elm tree this morning. So that's what I'm allergic to. And there's like all this beautiful pollen on the driveway, right? And I'm like, oh, thank you, elm tree. But cool it, you know, like I'm done. I'm done. I love you. I love that tree more than any tree in my yard. And it just has all this pollen. And y'all, I mean, it's everywhere. It's on the driveway. We walk in it. It's in the garage. It's in the house. I mean, we are elm pollen. And we both have allergies. And but I checked, and it's supposed to quit the 1st of October. So that the lace bark elms, I've gotten that specific, pollinate from August or July to the 1st of October. So next week, I will let that elm tree live. I won't cut it down. So we had a talk this morning. I said, you got, what, a week and a half, and that's it. You're done, buddy. And so anyway, me and nature. The 12 powers. What are the 12 powers? So I put the little introduction on here in case you don't know about these. So these are the powers that Charles Fillmore said that we inherited basically from God as human beings. So God is the 12 powers. We are the 12 powers. And he used it as a way to identify our gifts, the gifts that we have received as human beings. The 12 powers are the 12 fundamental aspects of our divine nature, the 12 components of God's image and likeness in humankind, the 12 disciples of our Christ mind. These are the powers that we use every minute of the day. We use these 12 powers. We're not even aware of using them because they're so natural, because they are us. And they are magical, and they are amazing, and you know, they're beyond our understanding. I'll just use that word. So understanding is God is supreme knowing. We go to a book called Revealing Word in Unity for all of our definitions that Charles Fillmore wrote. Understanding is that in man which comprehends this understanding. Can you understand that God is supreme knowing? If I ask you that right now, do you get that? Do you get that God is supreme knowing? I hear the words. We all hear the words, don't we? I personally don't think that we're evolved enough on this planet to really grasp the words. Can you move from the words up here to here? God is supreme knowing. Well, what the heck does that mean? What does that even mean? You know, the part of me that's curious. And I've always asked questions from little bitty. What's it mean? What's it mean? Be quiet, Debbie. Be quiet and just accept it. No, I want to know what it means. So let's look at understanding and see. Let's look at it deeper. Look at this lady. This is Dr. Emily Cady. Now, we even have a room named after her upstairs. We have a classroom called the Cady Room. Who the heck is Emily Cady? Well, she was one of the first women to become a doctor in 1880. She goes to college, I think it was up east, and she gets a degree in basically holistic medicine. Homeopathy. She's a homeopathyist. So she not only looks at the physical body, but she looked at the spiritual part of us. So she treated the whole being. And she reads or hears something about what the Fillmores are teaching. And so she writes a little article and submits it to the Unity magazine in 1890. And Charles Fillmore says, wow, this lady knows our stuff. This lady is our stuff. So they invite her to come and visit, and she does, and she becomes part of the group, part of the staff. And she begins to study and write with the Fillmores. So she writes a book called Lessons in Truth, which we study in one of our classes that we teach. Lessons in Truth says you may have an intellectual perception of truth with a capital T. And that's what she's talking about, that God is supreme knowing. You may have an intellectual understanding. I understand those words, maybe. You may easily grasp with the mind the statement that God is the giver of all good gifts. Okay, life, health, and love. That's all nice and sweet, isn't it? That's good. God is good in this church, right? We do not have a judgmental God. Or you may go further and intellectually see that God is not only the giver, but the gift itself. God is life and health and love. God is that. God is that. So, you know, in Unity, we say God is not out there. That's called dualistic thinking. It's called separation thinking. I'm here and God's there, and I better be good, right? And I better watch my thoughts, and because he can read my mind, and he's a he, he's not a she, he's a he. It's how we all grew up. And that's called dualistic thinking, that we think we're separate from God. In Unity, we say we are one with God. We are one with God. I do a demonstration in my classes where I have a pitcher of water, and then I have some glasses in front of me with water in them. And I say, this pitcher of water is God, and this first glass of water is Anne. And I pour Anne into God, and then I go, oh, I'm going to get Anne out. I want to talk to her. I want to get her out. And I look in the pitcher. I can't get her out. Where is she? She looks just like God. Her water looked just like God water. We are one with God. We are one with God. You cannot separate us from God. That doesn't even make sense. If God makes us, how can we be separate from God? We are the same energy that God is, which is pretty exciting. That's why we have 12 powers. Okay, so we're still intellectual perception, are we not? But she says this is not spiritual understanding. You're not there. Well, how do I get there? I want to know how I get there. What is spiritual understanding? How do I get there? And a lot of people ask me that. How do I get there? I want a spiritual awakening. How do I make it happen? What is a spiritual awakening? I'm going to do a class in a couple of weeks on spiritual awakening. Understanding. Let's go back to Fillmore. He says the revelation of truth to the consciousness of a person is spiritual understanding. He's so hard to understand, isn't he? Oh my gosh. There are two ways of getting understanding. One is by following the guidance of spirit that dwells within. He recommends that. And the other is to go blindly ahead and learn by heart experience. How many of us have done that? Whew! I mean, till we're worn out. Till we're worn out. So how do we follow guidance of spirit if that's what Charles recommends? It's so much easier, isn't it? When I was walking down the aisle, getting ready to get married to my second husband, yeah, it's okay. I tried a few. And, you know, it's the hard way of living. So I'm walking down the aisle, y'all. I'm literally walking down the aisle, and I hear this voice, and it says, don't do it. And I'm 32 years old. Do you know what my thought is? Oh, but all those wedding gifts. I can't send those wedding gifts back. How embarrassing. How shallow I was. Oh my goodness. And so I kept walking. I kept walking. A 6-year marriage that was not good, and 2 beautiful boys. Yeah. And now 5 grandchildren. So it's okay. There were good genes there. I got some good genes. And good lessons. There were good lessons in that marriage. You know, there's goodness in everything. Even, we talked about this morning in Explorers, even if there's suffering. When we suffer, we evolve. If we don't suffer, we never evolve. If you avoid suffering, you won't evolve. And Charles Fillmore says our whole purpose here is to evolve. That's what we're doing here, is to evolve our souls. So, back to Emily from Lessons in Truth. And we're getting closer, we're getting closer. Understanding is a spiritual birth, a revelation of God within the heart of man. A revelation of God. She says, I cannot reveal God to you. You cannot reveal God to another. I would love when someone says, I want a spiritual awakening, I would love to touch them and say, have it. Do it. This is it. And they would look at me and go, nothing happened. My spiritual awakenings have been amazing, and they came without me asking for them. You know, I've talked about one of my biggest spiritual awakening was when I was in Al-Anon and spent the afternoon with my sponsor, giving her my 4th step, which is where you talk about all the bad things you've done. It's confession. It's confession. They just hit me. It's confession. And she loves you anyway. Wow. That's the part. She cleared out. She had a husband and 2 kids. She cleared out the whole afternoon for me. For me. I didn't know that feeling. I didn't grow up with that feeling. And when I walked out of there, her front yard was like in Technicolor. I don't know how to describe it. It was in Technicolor. And I was just in awe. And I said, do you see all this? And she said, see what? Everything was so green, like after a rain. You know how everything's green, brilliant, shimmering. She didn't see it, which is fine. But that was my first really, really spiritual awakening. The new birth into our consciousness is indeed like the wind that blows where it will, and you hear the voice, but know not where it comes from and where it goes. That's the voice of God. That's the voice that said, don't do it. That's the voice that says, do it. That's called our intuition, is where we hear the voice of God, or the voice of the Holy Spirit. You might use those words. But we have to stop. We have to stop our busyness to hear it. We have to stop to have a spiritual awakening. We have to walk outside and sit with the elm tree and be grateful for the elm tree, because the elm tree is God. That tree is God. in all its majesty and perfection, and even with that grainy pollen that keeps blowing in my face, I say, you are, I don't know, you're the highest. That elm tree is the highest. And be with that feeling, and then know that I am the highest also. I am equal to that perfect elm tree. Because God made me. God made me. And I have the powers to be all that I want to be. There's nothing stopping me. There's nothing stopping me. Unless there is, maybe I need to forgive someone. Maybe I need to let go of a resentment. Maybe I need to take a new path in life. Maybe I need to think differently. Maybe I'm a negative thinker. Maybe I need to start thinking positive and see how that changes my life. Maybe I'm tired. In Al-Anon we say, I'm sick and tired of stinking thinking. And that's what got me to this program. And you sit and listen to people talk in meetings, and they talk and they talk and they talk about how they're using the principles of 12-step. And by the way, we have a 12-step group that here at church that is on Zoom Tuesday nights at 7 o'clock. So if you'd like to join us, Mary and Jerry Chandler are in charge of it, and it is a wonderful, wonderful group. If you want to grow, if you want to evolve, I would highly recommend a 12-step program. If you've never done 12-step, Mary has 25 years, I have 39 years, and it changed my life. It just changed my life. That's what it did. If you're wanting to change your life, do something. Do something different. Do something different. Change it up. And then she says, the new birth takes place in the silence. How many new births can you have? How many can you have? I don't know. I've never counted how many I've had. One of them was when we went to the Grand Canyon a couple of years ago. And we got in that helicopter that flies over the canyon and then it drops into the canyon. And when it flew over and I saw the canyon, I just started crying. A feeling came over me that said, this is God. This is God. I've got goosebumps right now. And I knew it. I'm looking at God. It flies over and then it drops into the canyon. And I'm just, like that. And Gerald's like, whoa, what's wrong with you? I said, it's okay. I said, leave me alone. I'm having a spiritual awakening. And I did. I had a spiritual, it's that place that you go to, that you get to go to every once in a while. Yeah, we sit in meditation. We do meditation. We do our prayers. But do we really, really get there? That's the question. Do we really feel the magnificence of who we are? That's what I felt when that helicopter dropped in. I felt it. I felt the magnificence of who I am. Is it with me all the time? It's there, at a certain level. It was there when that happened. It was there when I was sitting with my sponsor. I had it again when I went to see John of God in Brazil before COVID. I went twice to see John of God. He's a spiritist that lives in Brazil, and he channels different healers, doctors and nurses that have passed, and they do the healing. But there's a waterfall on that property. And the lady that was our guide, she said, we're going to the waterfall this afternoon. And I said, oh, okay, whatever, a waterfall. She said, when you get to the waterfall, lean over and put your head in the water and let it just wash on you. And I said, well, what temperature is the water? I don't like cold water at all. I said, my body can't adapt to cold temperatures. And she's like, whoa, boy, she needs it. So I didn't put my head all the way in, you all. I got up there, and it's a beautiful waterfall coming over the cliff. And I just went, whoop, like that. And she looked at me like no. And I said, bye. And I left. I thought, oh, well, whatever, magic waterfall, you know. And other people are walking around going, whoa, like it's a, you know, some sort of druggy thing. And I thought, I'm just not going to put my head in cold water. So 2 years later, I go back. I'm going to do that waterfall. I'm going to do it. I'm going to find out if it has magic properties. Now, his land sits on a crystal bed, which is interesting. And they sell a lot of crystals from that bed in these shops. So I went back. And I went to the waterfall. And I said, here we go, Deborah Lynn, and you're going to go all in. So just hang on, body. And I went up to it, and I stayed till my hair was just completely wet. And I raised up, and I turned around, and I had that same Technicolor experience I had with my sponsor. There it was again. And I was just in awe. So, oh my goodness. This is another proof that I am a spiritual being. That's what it is. It's proof that I'm not just a human being going through the motions every day. I am a spiritual being, and I have gifts that I received as a spiritual being, as a human being, and I need to use them, right? Are you using your gifts? That's the question. Are you using your gifts? I love this Bible verse, Jeremiah 29:13. God is speaking to the Israelites when they are exiled from their homeland. He says, you will seek me and find me when you seek me with all your heart. With all your heart. When I went into that waterfall, I was seeking God with all my heart, and I was doing something that I did not want to do. Did not want to do. But I was seeking that spiritual awareness. I wanted that spiritual experience. I love spiritual awakenings. I love them because they prove to me that I am a human being having a spiritual experience, and God is in charge, and the universe is in divine order. It just proves to me that it's all real and it's all divine. So these are my words. I get to quote every once in a while amidst Charles. We must come to a place where we surrender with all of our being if we want to discover this new perspective. We have to surrender. It's a surrender, you all. It's a feeling of, okay, I give up. Show it to me, God. Show it to me. And it is truly a miracle. But first, we have to get some things out of the way. If I am carrying a grudge, if I need to forgive someone, and that might be myself. I told Gerald yesterday, I said, you know, when I raised the boys, well, they're 39 and 41. And he said, honey, he said, you do not need to talk about this anymore. You cannot raise the boy. You cannot go back there and raise the boys. It's over. I need to let go of that. I need to let go of that. What I didn't do 25, 35 years ago, 35 years ago, what I didn't do, I didn't do. Those kids are going to learn their own. They're going to make their own mistakes. They're going to learn. They're going to suffer. They're going to evolve. because they are humans having a spiritual experience also. I really want to go get them and make them little. I told him I want to dress them like they're 5. And I want to hold their hands. And I want to tell them what I know now, right? That I didn't know when I was 35. But that's theirs to find out. That's theirs to discover. Because it's such a joyous trip, isn't it? It's a discovery trip. So I want to take all this into a meditation. And I want you to open up to the unknown. I want you to open up. Uncross your legs, uncross your arms. And open yourself up through gratitude. We know that gratitude opens us up. It opens us up to that place of the unknown. Of the unknown, as we are grateful for someone or something, our sweet fur babies, oh my goodness, that are so wonderful and love us unconditionally. We open ourselves up to that unconditional love. My little Boots, who's 3 years old, the unconditional love that she gives me. I open myself up to that place of unconditional love that is the divine within me, that is God within me. And I think of someone that I need to forgive. I think of someone I need to forgive. It may be me. And I speak that forgiveness in my mind and in my heart at this moment. And I forgive them. I forgive myself. And I let it go. I let that go. I let that grudge go. I let that resentment go against an ex-husband. I let it go. I let that obstacle to my evolvement go. And I see it as it drifts away. It drifts away in the wind. It's energy. It's all energy. And I see that energy move. I see it maybe turn into a flower. I see that energy transform as I let go of those resentments. I let go of any obstacle that might be standing in my way of feeling the spiritual being that I am. I let go of our country. I let go of what's happening. And know that there is divine order. I know that there is divine order in all of this. Because God is in it. God is in all. And I know this, and I realize this, and I speak this. As I let go of any ego thoughts. I let go of the ego thoughts, and I move to a higher place. I move to that higher place of realizing that I am a spiritual being. I realize I am God energy. I realize I am love. And I sit with that. Everyone is love. Everyone is love. And I sit with that. Knowing that is where the peace is. And I am grateful. I'm grateful for knowing this peace. I'm grateful for knowing the way to get here. I'm grateful for knowing the way to my spirit, to my inner being. Knowing that it is always there. It is always there to offer peace, to offer love. And we say thank you, Father, Mother, God, for this knowingness, for who we are as spiritual beings, for the powers that we possess. We say thank you for these gifts that guide us. And we say thank you in the name and power of Jesus the Christ. Amen. Namaste. Have a beautiful, beautiful week. Thank you.
Thank you, Deb, for that beautiful message.